Welcome to today's episode. We are thrilled to have a special guest with us, Laurie Gerber. Laurie is a seasoned expert in the field of life and relationship coaching. She's bringing over 20 years of invaluable experience to the table. Laurie's journey in coaching began with her own life-changing experience of working with a life coach. This pivotal moment transformed her life entirely, inspiring her to delve deep into the realm of coaching and to guide and support thousands of individuals and couples on their journey. And after navigating a challenging near-divorce situation in her personal life, Laurie utilized the Handel method to rebuild her relationship and flourish in all aspects of her life. Driven by this profound personal transformation, Laurie was compelled to share her wisdom and expertise with others, knowing that she had a powerful tool on her hands that could make a significant difference in so many lives. Join us as we dive into Laurie's inspiring story and learn more about her transformative approach to coaching that has touched so many lives right after this commercial break. All right, welcome to Evolve Your Intimacy with Dr. Stephanie. I'm Dr. Stephanie, and today we are with Laurie Gerber, and she is an expert in life and relationship coaching with a wealth of experience. I'm so thrilled to have her here on the show with us today, so sit back, relax, and let's gain some insights from Laurie.
Anyway, thanks for having me. Good to be here.
Yes, wonderful. So talk to me a little bit. Okay, as we jump into this, tell me who you are and kind of you had a near divorce experience. What is all that?
Yeah, I came to coaching accidentally. I was looking for a career change. I was looking for how could I make the most difference in the world using the skills that I had. But I thought life coaching was quackery. I wanted to be a doctor. No, I think it had enough credential to it, enough. Really, I really did. Right, I had that feeling. But I was working with a coach because I had nearly spoiled my marriage, right? That was also accidental, actually. Nearly spoiling it was accidental, and falling into coaching was accidental because I really was going for help with my career. But because I was looking for a career change, but she took one look at my marriage and she was like, are you sure you want to go on as a divorced woman? Because you might want to fix this first. And her name is Lauren Handel method. She came up with the method. I was one of her first guinea pigs 20 years ago, and she could not help herself but to fix every single aspect of my life because it's all interconnected, as you know. And so she helped me fix my marriage. And there were not that many things wrong, but the things that were wrong were very, very wrong and were headed in a terrible direction. I became so inspired by how well she fixed those issues and permanently fixed those issues that I then trained under her to do the same work that she does, which is life coaching. But I developed this specialty in love and dating and couples because, number one, I had had that experience. And number two, I just ended up being the love coach at the company. Just for whatever reason, nobody else really wanted or felt they deserved the job. And so I ended up leading webinars for Match for many years, being on the inside at Match, JDate, Zeus, all these other places that needed a coach specializing in love and dating. And so I gained my 10,000 hours of experience with that. And I haven't looked back because it's such a fun niche working on love and sex and dating.
It's one of my favorites.
It's kind of the most important thing. So
you mentioned Match. Can you share with us what that experience was like and why Match was interested in these webinars with you?
Yeah, Match, of course, like many dating sites, wants their people engaged and wants their people, spending time on the site and using all of the features and benefits and understanding how to use it and using it well and talking about it with their friends and all of that. So
sharing.
It made total sense to give them great content. And I can't even count how many webinars we did. We did all kinds of webinars over the years, one of which might interest you the most, which was navigating sex and dating. And we did navigating sex and dating for everyone. We did one for men. We did one for women, which was fascinating. And we decided to also allow any gender to show up on any of them because we thought it wouldn't hurt for you to listen in and watch.
Yeah.
Even if you did not identify with whatever gender I was speaking to, we thought it was useful for everybody to cross-pollinate. So those were some of our most popular webinars. And I was always laughing at the questions people would ask. I mean, the good news is everyone was asking the same questions, and so we can really get to that. But the bad news is they're really dumb questions. I'm sorry. Like, I mean, when I say dumb and bad news, I mean, like, wow, people are so very, very disabled on this topic, and so very
uneducated.
Yeah, uneducated, and dumb is a mean thing to say. I shouldn't say dumb, but helpless, powerless, confused, uneducated, like basic things, like what is safe sex, or what, how do I tell someone no? How do I know if someone's not interested? How do I know if they just want to get laid? Like just things that told me that people are very beginner at navigating sex and dating, and very scared and very confused and very rudderless. So thank gosh.
Love that rudderless. I love that term. Yeah. I too ended up in this career field because I'm a licensed professional counselor, and I specialized in couples. It was my jam. And being part of the alternative lifestyle, I had so many they were friends coming to me, and they said, we can't find counselors that'll work with us. They tell us it's our lifestyle. They tell us we need this or that, or we need Jesus, and it's all boiling down to, we just can't communicate. And so that broke my heart when I heard that literally in my area, I live in Texas, so Texas is huge, but people were being turned away for therapy because of their lifestyle. And so like you, I saw a need and I jumped right in, and hopefully together, you and I can fill some of those educational voids that people just don't learn.
Right.
I'm just going to ask, because you threw it out there. You said we could talk about it. Tell me some of the common questions people ask during these webinars, and did you notice any differences between the men and women?
Yeah. So, I really hate to be cliche about this difference, but it is what you're thinking. Most men want to know how to get more of it. Most women want to know how to slow it down without having him lose interest. Those are broad strokes generalizations. I don't really believe in them. I think women can want to fling as much as men. I think there are some men who don't want to take it fast. Of course, there's diversity in every situation, every gender. No generalizations should be made. But I think it is extremely helpful to help men figure out how they can elegantly, gracefully, legally, ethically, pursue the sex they want, and to help women get very clear on what they want, both revealing things they want that they may be ashamed of given our cultural upbringing, and at the same time also being able to be clear about what they don't want. And how they want things to go. So everyone needs training. Women more so often need training in how to say no, or this would be better. And men more so need training in how to be respectful and listen well and take the cues and show up great. But everybody is a little clueless and seems sort of the product of a culture in which we still cannot talk about this very taboo topic, even though every single person is thinking about it and doing it. Somehow it's just really awkward to talk about, even with your closest friends, especially with your family. So all the people you think that might be resources, it's on lockdown. The information's on lockdown.
Absolutely. And you don't get it at school, where I know, especially in Texas, we're taught that it's an abstinence. We can only teach abstinence in our educational system. We can't teach education. And I think in New York, you guys can teach it, but it has to have an abstinence underbelly, I think.
I'm sure that's true, because we still live in an incredibly puritanical, slow to evolve, scared world, not to mention country. And then depending on what state you are, it can be utterly ridiculous how much there is no education, right? Yeah. There's no education coming from your family. Not that you necessarily want it from your family, because we're raised by cave people. Very interesting kinds of education coming. I mean, my 9-year-old just told me what she thought sex was, right? So where's she getting that? Either the internet or her friends. I think it's her friends.
Oh, please share with us what she said.
That's not a reliable source.
What did she say? This is great.
I heard this through my husband, so I can't verify the exact accuracy, and I think when a man and a woman love each other, they lay in bed together, and then the woman goes under the covers and sucks on the man's penis.
Oh, and that's sex to a 9-year-old.
And that's sex. I mean, that's not too far off, but she doesn't understand how the sperm gets to the egg.
Exactly, but there's so many people in the world who don't understand that.
That's what she was confused about. So my husband explained it to her. But 9 years old, right? She's getting her information from somewhere. She's getting some information, but you can't connect the dots without someone really spelling it out for you. Yeah. So education's failing, our families are failing to teach us, our peers are failing to teach us, and it's still taboo. So we're all so damn awkward, and that's why we exist. That's why you and I exist.
Exactly. I just, my book was just released, and it's the Clinician's Guide for practitioners. Hold on. They changed the name of it, so I have to reread it. The Clinician's Guide to Ethical Non-Monogamous Relationships, Working with Clients in Alternative Lifestyles. And it is a clinician's coach's guide. It has treatment plans. It has everything. It's a complete plug and play. And this was my doctoral project, but it got picked up by Rutledge because there's nothing out there.
Well, you're on the cutting edge of a very old, very new phenomena.
We all have it. We all talk about it in some sort. It doesn't matter if you're asexual. Even asexual individuals have some sort of sexual intimacy in their own version. So we're all doing it, but we can't talk about it. And interestingly is when these questions were posed to you on Match, did you find yourself thinking, what the hell? Like, come on now. Like just shaking your head sometimes going, where did that even come from?
It made me sad. It honestly just made me really sad because, just like you, I talk to people every day who are struggling real time in real life. How do I make these connections? How do I keep these connections? How do I feel good about myself, my choices, my body, my pleasure? So it made me sad because it really did just show me how starved we are for information and inspiration. So it just made me sad, right? I didn't roll my eyes. I felt like I'm glad we're doing something, and I'm glad Match is doing something, and I'm glad that there's a profit motivation to educate people because otherwise it wouldn't get done.
Exactly. And we all know that it's not going to get done in our education system. So yes, thankfully we do exist, and podcasts like this exist, and there's people that can actually ask questions. So
wait, can I ask you a question?
Absolutely.
Sorry, every time I wanted to prepare for this, I had the thought, like, I really want to ask an expert a question. I know I'm not supposed to do that on your podcast.
You sure can.
This is something I keep hearing from my clients, and because I am personally not on dating sites, I have not had this personal experience. I know my answer as a professional, but what do you say to the woman who experiences men being overtly sexual very early on in all of her online dating experiences? Dick pics, innuendos, switching to sex immediately after a few get to know you questions. Just like, what do you make of that as a phenomena of men doing that, number one? And number two, what do you tell the woman? Is she doing something to attract that? Is there something she can do to stop it? Does she need to have compassion for this guy, or does she need to go cut it out and reprimand him and teach him not to do that? And what is again, I have my answer, but I really need a second opinion.
Absolutely. And so the phenomenon behind it is, well, there's no education. They're not taught how to properly talk to women and to properly communicate, and they use what they have. A dick pic. Oh, look at this, babe. Look at this. Okay, that's great. But what about words of affirmation? What about, talking? They don't realize that. They don't have that skill. And if you think back to this generation, or should I say the millennial generation, because that's pretty much the ones we're working with right now. And I'm working with some Gen X, but mostly millennials. And they have been accustomed to an instant society. You want to binge watch a show? You could binge watch it. There's no commercials. You don't have to wait for it next week. You want something delivered to you? It's delivered through Amazon sometimes same day. If you want a date, pick up Tinder. You can have it like that. If you want sex, pick up Tinder. You can have it like that. The one thing we cannot instantly cultivate are relationships. But that generations missing that intelligence, that skill on how to cultivate relationships. And so what I tell the women when this happens is I don't want women to show men the compassion, because that's all they've ever been shown, and that's why they're doing it. You have to set those boundaries right up front. I'm not interested in dick pics. I'm interested in getting to know you. If that's not something you want to do, then maybe this isn't right for you. And you shut that shit down immediately. I am flooded with dick pics on all of the sites that I'm on constantly. And mine says educator and co-creator or from something from the website. And that's the most immediate thing. And every time I have a blanket response. And it's, you know what? I appreciate your boldness and your bravery. However, I am not interested in seeing that. I would much rather get to know you as a person and not what you have in your pants.
Awesome. That is a great answer. Interestingly enough, in line with what you were saying, my husband, who's turning 50 this year, was actually telling a friend of mine and me the other day that his experience growing up without easily accessible porn forced him to learn how to speak to girls and women. Because unlike in this generation, he was there was no internet when he was coming. So you had to like find your friend's father's Playboy under the mattress, and maybe you got to look at it for 5 minutes with your friends, right? So you had like a grainy Channel J, like there just wasn't access to boobs, right? And things to arouse you. So you literally, if you were going to get to touch a boob or see a boob or anything to do with sex, you had to get a girl to like you. So in this developmental stage of ages, let's say 11, 12 to 18, he was doing things socially that his personality would never have chosen to do if he could have stayed home with porn, because he's an introvert and he didn't enjoy the social aspects, but he learned by doing. And he turns out to be a very charming, wonderful person who now gets laid all the time by his wife.
Yes.
But we were comparing that to our kids' generation where they have this instant access to porn, and just and then COVID, right, which totally stunted everyone's social growth. Just how disadvantageous that is in literally learning relationship skills.
It's interesting. My daughter was in middle school during COVID, and that's so pivotal. Middle school is so pivotal in learning those social skills and learning how to communicate with the opposite sex, and the flirting and the kissy faces and all of that fun stuff. It's so,
there were no kisses.
Yes, there was nothing. There was no interaction. And just getting her, she's off to college next weekend, or actually this weekend. Oh, goodness, I'm not going to cry. But getting her to even make a phone call was just so painstaking, because she didn't know how to communicate with people. And I think we're going to start seeing that more and more coming up in our practice, is that generation of the COVID children who didn't have that skill. And so it's going to continue to grow and get worse and worse and worse. Thankfully, we can have this education out there for them, but it's just, unless they're looking for it, all they're going to find is porn.
Yeah, we have some challenges.
Yeah.
Anyway, most frequently asked questions. Should we go into that? Should we go back to that topic?
Sure. What do you feel like is the most crazy question you've ever been asked?
Crazy question.
Like the most off the wall.
About that. I mean, I don't think it's crazy, but of course, people who have a kink are afraid of what other people's reactions will be to that. So I don't consider that crazy, but I think, I recall something about stuffed animals, or I don't know, feet. I can't remember, but people have interesting things that they like. And I think that, again, I don't certainly want to make it sound like any questions are crazy or bad questions, but I find it heartbreaking. And I'll just talk about herpes. I mean, herpes is one that probably 1 out of 5 listeners at least can relate to, the amount of shame and the how do I bring it up, and when do I bring it up, and how do I tell, and am I going to be rejected? And, we could talk for hours just about herpes disclosure or other STIs. So I would say those are those are another set of standout questions that make my heart go a little more out to people than the others, the others being like, when is it too soon to have sex? When should I have sex? When can I ruin it if I have sex too soon? If I already had sex too soon, did I ruin it? So those are some of them.
So let's flip back to when a client or just somebody that you're working with online and they want something serious. Many people, they are so unsure about how to navigate sex. Are we having sex too early? Are we, do we want to wait? When do you wait? Will it ruin a chance for a serious relationship? What are your thoughts on that? Does sex ruin serious relationships?
This will be interesting to talk to you about, considering your experience with ethical non-monogamy, which implies a little more open-mindedness about a little less traditional thinking about sex. But my experience is that nobody has ever regretted waiting for sex. There's a lot of people who've regretted not waiting.
Sure.
But I've never heard someone go, I wish I would have had sex sooner.
Yeah.
I personally waited 6 months to have sex with my husband. That was interminable. It was so long. And at the time, the idea with AIDS testing, this was back, I'm old. This was back at the time, it was like you were supposed to wait between lovers just to be sure. And I was in no way really at risk, but I was a real by the book safety girl. And I wanted to give it that 6 month window, and both of us get tested and look at each other's tests. And truly, and we did everything, we fooled around. We gave each other orgasms. It was great. We got to know each other really well. And there were times I was like, this is crazy. We should just have sex. I'm being stupid. I was horny and I wanted it. But the benefits so outweighed the costs. And when we finally did have sex, we knew each other so well. We trusted each other so well. We knew how to make each other come. We had the communication lines open so we could talk about everything. We had trust, and we had clean bills of health, which is really good for stress. So I would never suggest somebody wait 6 months. Those are not my ethics or even my suggestions, but I find it notable that I did not regret that, and that it only got hotter waiting. But I would extrapolate that to a client and just say, for me, if monogamy is important to you, monogamy should be established before you have sex, because that's going to make you feel safe and comfortable. If monogamy is not important to you, whatever the rules of non-monogamy need to be clear. The tests need to be current and valid, and preferably you go together because you're that connected, but otherwise you can show each other a dated test. And you have to both want the same thing, meaning you have to both want ethical non-monogamy, both want monogamy, both want to be swinging, whatever it is. In my set of rules, you need to agree on the terms before you have sex for best results. Can it turn out if you don't follow all those rules? Sure. It's just, I'm not putting my money on it.
Absolutely. There's enough going around in the world. There's enough negative stimuli. There's just so much convolution. Why compact that with sex? I mean, yes, waiting for sex, if that's your thing, absolutely. However, I don't feel like it is a necessity. But if it's something that is, waiting is a necessity is what I mean by that. I don't feel like waiting is a necessity. I feel like if it's something that you feel you're ready to do and you don't feel pressured and you don't feel emotionally distressed by it, then do it. Make sure you're following your personal protocols, safety protocols. Are you wearing protection? Are you on birth control? Whatever that you need to keep yourself safe. But also remember that if you're having sex that soon, I always say this, it's up to you to keep yourself safe, because you don't know what that other person has or does. And even if you have the test, you don't know what they're doing if you don't know them really well yet. So depending on how well you know them is how much you need to invest in that sexual freedom when it comes to not wearing protective gear, I love to call it.
I think the other point I want to really underscore is that sex is not great every time. In fact, often your first sexual experience with someone is not great. And I don't think we think of that if we're A, drunk or high,
Sure.
or B, really turned on by someone. And so we're not necessarily making the choice. It really is a cost-benefit analysis, right? Like, wouldn't it be hotter later versus right now I'm taking a risk that if it's not hot, we don't have the communication skills or the intimacy to talk about it and learn from it. So I would rather you wait until you feel comfortable enough to talk about contraception, to do it sober, to giggle if it's not good, to talk about it if somebody can't get it up or can't have an orgasm, to talk about it if the kissing, like all of that crap that comes up. If you don't feel ready to talk about that with this person, maybe you're not ready to exchange bodily fluids with them.
Exactly. If you can't talk about, if you can't laugh about sexual sounds and you get embarrassed by that, that is one of the key indicators that you probably should not be having sex that soon in a relationship.
Right.
I mean, if bodily sounds are you're gonna have titty poots. I hate the word fart, but titty farts. You're gonna have all of the weird sounds, and you gotta laugh about it. But if you get really embarrassed by it and you shut down, that's a key indicator that you probably weren't in a place in that relationship to be doing that.
And I would say if you can't ask for what you want or say if something hurts or doesn't feel good, that just goes for all genders. I don't think you're ready. I think it's a really good indicator you're not ready, and that doesn't make it unethical. It just makes it ineffective and unfun.
Yeah, it absolutely does.
And then it gets you, it turns you off to the idea of sex at all. Right?
Yeah.
Like the more times you prove you can't have an orgasm or you can't enjoy it, you start to believe it when it's not true.
Yeah, absolutely. Let me tell them to move out of that room. I can hear him talking. That happens when you have like 15 people trying to work from the damn house.
I know.
Okay, get back. I was like, dude, I can hear your entire conversation. You're selling
So
something.
I could not at all.
Okay, good. So I want to switch gears. Now, how do we identify if a potential partner is only interested in sex? And once we establish that, how do we proceed with it?
Yeah. My rule of thumb is if it sounds like an innuendo, it probably is one. If it looks like a dick pic,
It probably is a dick pic.
So, and I think that it's so funny because I'm always telling women, would you rather he not be attracted and want to have sex with you? Because that is the distinguishing factor of dating, right? This is not a friend's website, right? This is not a website where you're going to look for a buddy or a business partner. This is literally the determining and extra feature of this human you're choosing is that you're going to have sex with them. So it's not that surprising that he's fishing to see how open to sex you are. Plus, it's one of the main benefits of having a relationship. It really is. And so I want us to not be dumb about that or play naive about that. And at the same time, as you said at the very beginning, you have to be able to say, this is what I'm interested in and when I'm interested in it. But to answer your question, if it seems like an innuendo, if it looks like a dick pic, that's how you'll know someone is interested in you sexually. There are ways you can slow it down, and I've heard of that going well, where the man really is trainable and can take his cue and can slow it down in honor of the ultimate goal of getting to know you and earning your trust and earning the right to have sex with you. But if it's not what you're interested in, you need to practice your lines, and you can go back to minute 7 or whenever you were giving a line, and you need to be able to give that line verbally and in writing and quickly before you start to think all men are scum.
Sure.
And then my other joke is just, the best way to stop that is to go, I'm really looking for a long-term committed relationship. That's the best way to scare away someone who is only looking for sex. And the trick is, can you not hold it against all the people that some people are looking for sex? Can you just honor that's where they're at, you're where you're at, and if you're sending clear signals and communications about where you're at, you shouldn't be offended. Like two people can go shopping at the mall and be in different stores, and that's neither is offending the other.
Mm-hmm.
But, but it doesn't mean someone's going to put their shopping in your bag, right? Like you're not taking someone else's bag. You're keeping your own bag in your own store. So, so the clarity of your intentions is very important.
Mm. Yes. Being able to say, I'm not interested in this, but I am interested in this. And, you don't always have to say no. A lot of individuals, men and women, it doesn't matter what your sex is, you have a hard time. We're taught not to say no. We're taught to just, it's a society where everybody gets what they want. Yeah. But being able to say, no, I'm not interested in this is very hard for people. But if you say something to the effect of, I'm really not interested in that at this time, but I am interested in this, and provide that alternative, and you're not shutting them down, you're not shaming them, and you're showing them that I am interested in you, but this is where I would like to start.
Right. That's beautiful. I think another good example of that is if you don't like something that's happening, like something's too rough or too soft or too fast or too slow, or you don't like the kissing or you don't like the smell, you come at it in a sweet way and you say, can I tell you something I really like?
Mm-hmm.
Can I show you how I really like it? And then you show me how you like it. Fill in the blank, any it.
Whatever
right?
it is.
Oral sex, whatever. And no man's going to say no to show me how you like it. Right? That's like one of the hottest things you can say to someone. And so different from you're doing it wrong or wincing or gagging or pulling away or crying or scream, like, all of the different reactions, eye rolling, checking your phone.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of ways you can try to communicate, but there's a really nice way, which is, can I show you how I like it?
Absolutely. And the key is communication and knowing what you like. This is just a random question that just popped in my mind. What is your thoughts on masturbation when it comes to learning your body?
Yeah, my thoughts are you owe it to if you are looking for a partner, whether it's a non-monogamous partner or a monogamous partner, you owe it to yourself to know what you like. I will not be so orgasm centric as to say to know how you like to come,
mm-hmm.
but it really helps because people really like it when their partners come. So if you are someone who struggles with that, I think that's your first. It's your first next job.
Yeah.
Right? Like that is as worth exercise, as worth brushing your teeth, as worth learning to meditate, as worth clutter clearing your home, as worth getting a degree. Being able to, whatever mental, physical, spiritual, and emotional things you need to go through to be able to have an orgasm, I say get right on that.
Absolutely.
And if you can do it, they can participate. That's the other I cannot even believe how many people think some other person's supposed to figure out how to make you come if you can't, or if you won't show them or help them. No two people come the same way.
Mm-hmm.
Like, how would anybody know? Would you really want a partner that has been with thousands of people and can know because of experience? Not necessarily. You might want to just tell them how,
yeah,
or show them how, or better yet, just make sure you come however you like to come and just let them participate.
Sure.
Why are people not thinking about all the possibilities? Everyone's so much happier when everyone comes.
Exactly. And mutual masturbation. It's okay to masturbate in front of your partner and show them what you like. Show them how you like it. Show them this is
bad.
Yeah. It's okay to do that. And that's one of those things where we're taught, don't touch yourself. It's bad. It's dirty. And especially, I know, and again, I have to talk about the area that I know, and that's Texas. We were taught that if you masturbated, I had to go to church and pray for forgiveness and talk to a male preacher about why I was masturbating. And, I never touched myself again.
That's how they got people to church.
That's how I've never touched myself.
Everyone's doing it.
Yeah. After that, I was like, no, I will never do that again. And it's okay to do that for number one, but it's okay to show your partner. And that's such a hard concept for so many people to understand that. And I love how you just said that, though. If you can't do it, how can you expect anybody else to do it for you? Mind blown.
By the way, because of how I was raised on media and movies, I thought that the penis just made you come. Like if you look at a movie,
yeah.
I was raised on Porky's and Revenge of the Nerds. If you watch these movies, you're like, oh, there must be a button and it must be being pressed the minute the penis goes in.
Mm-hmm.
No, nobody explained the clitoris to me. Nobody explained any of this to me. So it took me years. I didn't even understand that I could give myself an orgasm, but that, like, I'm a smart college educated person.
Yeah.
I did not figure out that we needed to work together to make this happen because of how I was. And I wasn't watching porn. I was just watching regular R-rated movies that were misinforming me. Porn, I think, would have misinformed me even more.
Yeah. You would expected that great ejaculation.
How would this work? And then I also remember, too, experimenting as a young woman on boys, really, and being like, I don't know how to do this. Like, I was so clueless. And of course, they couldn't show me, teach me, tell me.
Yeah.
I mean, I think about all these poor boys who I probably, like, shaved their dicks off and hurt them. Hurt them.
That's
all
good.
kinds of ways. I had no idea what I was doing. It's such a bummer. We have to learn by trial and error and hurt each other.
Yes, it is. We've talked a lot about sex, but the most important thing I feel is that first kiss. And if your kisses match, or if you feel comfortable with that kiss. And in your opinion, if you're not comfortable with somebody's kiss, how do you tell them? How do you address that without hurting their feelings?
I mean, I would turn this question right back to you because I'm very curious your opinion. Because I think a lot of women that I work with feel like if that first kiss isn't good, it means that something's wrong. And I don't believe that. I also don't believe if you're not attracted at first that something's wrong. I also don't believe if you fight at first that something's wrong. Like, I don't believe most of the things that people write people off for are the right things to write people off for. And I do think you can go, I like it like this,
Mm-hmm.
right? I actually think how someone kisses is something that can change. You can't change someone's height. You can't change someone's eye color. You can't, right? You can't even really change how they smell, probably. Although probably if you change their diet and gave them the right cologne. But, and I think that's another one that people are like, I don't like the smell. And then it's like, it must not be the person.
Mm-hmm.
And I always say, well, at least try to change the smell before you throw out a great human that you love. But I also get, like, I want to give some credence to, like, oh, if you're really not compatible kissers or you don't like how they smell, that is kind of a sellout when you could have someone who you like how they kiss and smell, right? So I would be curious your take on that.
Well, to me, kissing it's such a transactional thing, but it's also such an educational thing. So if you first kiss somebody and it's not the way you like it, and it's not, you don't feel like that explosion of compatibility, that's okay, because you can gently guide your partner on how to kiss you better. You can't say, oh, you kiss like shit. You can teach them how to do it softer or harder or more tongue by showing them and giving it to them the way you like it. And simply saying, may I show you how I like to be kissed?
Right.
That changes everything. May I show you? That damn sentence can save so many relationships.
I always have to roll my eyes too when people say he's a bad kisser, like as if there's one way to kiss and your way is the right way. How do you know your way is the right way?
Yeah, I mean, it's
Are you sure?
Yeah, the way you like it doesn't mean that some other person won't like the way he kisses, but it's also, we're not taught to kiss, right? We're not growing up just shoving our tongues down people's throats. I mean, we get told that's bad, especially in kindergarten. But, when we go to kiss, it's okay to guide your partner, put your hands on their face, kind of slow them down a little bit, caress them, gently show them and teach them. But if it's something that you just can't get over, sometimes that's a deal breaker, and that's okay too.
Yeah. Okay, we're on the same page.
Yeah.
All right. What else?
How about body image? Body image is a concern when it comes to so many sexual relationships, and the impact of body language, or body image, not language too, but the impact of body image on sex is almost debilitating to some. And so how do you coach people through that and to overcome these concerns?
Yeah. It is truly remarkable how prevalent it is across all sizes, ages, body types, right? Just people's insecurity is deep and not based on the facts. That's one thing I would like to say across the board. personally, I think one's relationship with one's body is spiritual, is about loving yourself, right? Is about your relationship with your higher power, the divine, God, whatever you want to call it, that this body is the thing you were given to have this experience on the earth plane. And if you don't figure out how to love it and be in communication with it and let it teach you things and you teach it things, you're missing out on life, right? You're missing out on really a big piece of life. So I take body image very seriously, not just because you feel better if you have a good body image, but because I think it is holy to care about how you feel on the inside and the outside. And I think making your body into what you wish it to be, shaping it, forming it, working its muscles, stretching its strengthening its joints, feeding it healthy food, hydrating it, all of the things we do that are considered healthful or beauty enhancing is self-love. And self-love reflects and emanates from you in a way that's very sexy to other people. So you could say it's shallow or it's vanity to exercise and eat well. You could also say it's a reflection of self-love and self-care that is sexy, because it is, because it's deep and it's sexy. So bottom line, you've got to fall in love with your body to have great sex and great relationships. You can do that one of two ways. You can make it your mission to make it look the way you idealize, as long as your doctor agrees that's a healthful possibility. Or you can make peace with what it is, given the way you like to eat and exercise.
Sure.
In which case you must, but there's no other choice. It's one or the other. It's either form it into what would make you proud and happy, or make peace and love what it is. There's no, you're not allowed to switch teams depending on whether you feel like eating a box of donuts or not. And you're certainly not allowed to pick hating your body. That's just not one of the options I would offer my clients. And if that is something that's still being entertained as an option, there's lots we can do about that on both sides, right? On acceptance and self-love, and taking apart those cultural traumas, and also changing it to be more in alignment with your own personal ideals, not your parents' ideals or your society's ideals.
Absolutely.
Did that answer that?
It did. And I also want to add, I go to events all over the world, and most of my events are clothing optional. And not necessarily, there's not sex happening everywhere. It's clothing optional. That's just the world I live in. And for so long, I hated my body because I was just taught it wasn't good enough. I needed to be smaller, and the world told me this, and I saw all of these images. And it wasn't until about probably 5 years ago that I decided that, you know what? Fuck it. Just fuck it. That's all I have to say. If you don't like the way I look, don't look at me. Period.
Beautiful.
And I go to these events and we wear all of these fun costumes because lifestyle people we love to dress up and party and have great times. And it's not just lifestyle people. Hell, everybody does. So we dress up and have great times in all these fun costumes. And sometimes, I've eaten a little bit more that day and I have a food baby, or, I'm bloated or whatever. And people tell me all the time, you're just so confident. No, I'm not confident. I just don't care what you think because I'm comfortable. And if I'm not comfortable, I'm going to go put on my pajamas, or I'm going to take off whatever I'm wearing if it's poking me or sticking me because I've gained a little ounce or two from eating. But the fact is, you have to love you, and nobody else can say what you love about yourself. But we're not taught that, and we're not allowed to accept that. It's always, well, you could be better. Well, hell yeah, I know I could be better, but you know what? So could you. And
it's just
what?
So sad too that I can't imagine how many beautiful moments of intimacy and pleasure are missed because someone is worrying about their body.
Absolutely.
Whether it's their erection or their food baby or their love handle or their wrinkle or their cellulite or whatever it is. It really does make you wonder if the man is really behind it all. I mean, like the patriarchy.
Yeah.
The capitalist patriarchy that wants you to buy more stuff. Really, really, just like religion wants you to think you're dirty, so you have to go and pray and give the money to the church. the market wants you to think you're ugly and fat and go pay money for pharmaceuticals and diet pills and everything and makeup and gyms and, instead of spending your money on fun costumes.
Mm-hmm.
Vibrators, like you should be.
Exactly. So many vibrators. So the last question I have for you, some individuals may find it challenging to orgasm, or they may feel that their partner either cares too much about it or not enough about it, that sexual satisfaction. And how can these issues really be addressed in a relationship, in your opinion?
You must hear this all the time, right?
I do.
And as much as I hear he cares too much, I hear he doesn't care enough, right? It's like, you can't win. You can't win as a man. You have to care just the right amount so that I don't feel any pressure, but I'm sure I'm going to come.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't envy men. I don't think they have less sex issues. I think we all have sex issues. I think orgasms are an inside job. I mean, I think I could have the most expert lover, and boy, God knows I could prevent having an orgasm, because guess what? It's my brain, right? So there's no way you're coming without your own full participation mentally and physically, right? Like I think it's a great myth that it is your partner that makes you come. I think your partner can do things, but you can prevent yourself from coming very easily. Every woman knows that. Mm-hmm. And every man has practiced that too. My husband jokes about, he has to think about the worst football team, but he can hold it. All he has to do is think about the worst football team. So we all know how to not come, and we could all learn how to come. Mm-hmm. And I really think it's our responsibility not only to learn it, but to make sure it happens every time if we want it to happen every time. That was an enormous breakthrough for me, and I share that with my clients. It's like, you take responsibility for that. Take the pressure off of him. Teach him what you want. Teach him, have fun, play, learn, grow. But at the end of the day,
yeah, it's up to you.
It's up to you. I mean, I think a man can wait. I think that's a great thing a man can do, right? Like, I think it's great for a man to learn how to wait. Mm-hmm. And to ask, what do you want? What do you like? And vice versa. Everyone should be asking everybody, what do you like? How do you want to come? How do you want to do this?
But yes, and I agree with all of that. But we're such an orgasm-focused society that we're forgetting about the whole pleasure part, the whole journey. And so if you're sitting there asking me afterwards and we're laying down, did you come? Did you come? Have you come yet? What about all of the pleasure I've just experienced? You just erased all of that.
I'm sorry, but if you are asking, did you come? You are not tuned in to your partner. Mm-hmm. I'm sorry. It is a biological response. It is scientific. Anybody who's saying they don't know if their partner came, either their partner's a faker, and you know it, or, which is very popular, as we know, or you are not paying attention. So if you are asking that question after sex every time, please have a deeper conversation about how you relate to orgasms and what they look like. That's one thing. But back to your point, should we be valuing all of the aspects of sex together? Yes. I happen to be the blueprint of sexual, so I am all about the orgasm. But I respect and include my sensuals, my kinkies, my shapeshifters, all of the different types of people, and my energetics. So I completely agree with you that there is too much focus on orgasms and not enough open-mindedness and inclusiveness of all of the different aspects of being sexual and sensual with somebody. Again, we're leaving money on the table. Like we're crazy for leaving the amount of pleasure and intimacy that we could be having for free if we were just present enough. Mm-hmm. So I think I'm just saying amen to what you're saying without necessarily adding much.
And I want to end on this point.
Yes.
Gentlemen, penis owners who are listening, if you have an orgasm pretty quickly and you think you're done and you're like, oh, I've had an orgasm, I'm done. Your partner hasn't yet, or maybe your partner can still have more. You have a mouth, you have hands, you have toys, you have tools. Use your tools to pleasure your partner. The pleasure doesn't stop just because you had an orgasm. And I can't tell you how many individuals who do not own a penis have said, as soon as the penis owner comes, they're done. And I'm just like, okay, well, what about everything else? Like, we have other tools. use your tools. Think about the pleasure. Think about all of the greatness that you are leaving on the table that you, like you just said.
Leaving on the bed. You're leaving money on the bed. And I think I would add to that one more thing, which is that if you're a penis owner who doesn't think they can control their orgasm, come on. Like, get with the times. Okay? Like, people quit smoking.
Yeah.
I think you can control your orgasm a little more. So what you're really saying is you're not interested in controlling it. You're not saying you can't. And I say the same thing to a person who can, a vulva owner who can't come. I'm like, no, you can. Trust me.
You just have to figure it out.
If I said you can't have any coffee or wine until you figure it out, I bet you'd freaking figure it out. I bet you would. I mean, I'm not saying there might be a 0.001% group of humans that has an anatomical reason, maybe. And I understand trauma is obviously a factor, but I can't listen to helplessness when it comes to either any gender saying they don't have a lot to do with the results. And erectile dysfunction, I'll lump that in there too. Like, hello, you need to talk to someone.
Exactly.
You need to find out what's on the market. There's a world out there, folks. 52%, I believe, of men experience ED. Come on, get educated. Go get yourself the help you need. You are not alone. You are not destined to not enjoy sex. You're not destined to be a crappy lover. Come on.
Literally, come on.
Come on. Exactly. Let's end on that note.
Well, thank you for joining us. And can you tell the listeners how they can find you and work with you if they'd like to?
Sure. LaurieGerber.com is the best place to go. LaurieGerber.com.
Perfect. And I will have all of that linked in the show notes and how you can get a hold of her if you would like to work with her. And thank you for spending the afternoon with me. I greatly appreciate it. And I look forward to hopefully working with you soon, like talking to you more and getting to know you a little better. We have the same personality, I feel like. The no bullshit kind of personality.
That's very simpatico.
So,
awesome.
Well,
thank you.
Thank you. And I hope to talk to you soon. Okay, I'll stop that.